say this all the time to everyone. Everything in this world is about intention. If your intention is, I want to be a better person because then I'm better for everyone. That is it.
So I'm really excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, darling.
You're celebrated as, the soul queen, and you've had a career that spanned over 3 decades.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you started? And
Gosh, it's a long story. I try and make it really short. What really happened with me, so I was born to Jamaican heritage, really. We're very mixed, but predominantly Jamaican. And my grandparents raised me, and they were hardcore Christian Pentecostals. So, if you remember like the Blues Brothers, that movie where you see them all jumping up in church and doing backflips, it was a bit like that. So it was very strict. Jesus all day long, Jesus all night long. But what was wonderful about it was a really great place to hone talent. So my grandmother heard me singing around the house. I think I was about 5.
Wow, that young.
And I was singing Rupert the Bear, which used to be a great TV show, kids show. I'd always liked Rupert the Bear because he was really well dressed. So I used to be like, I like him. And so he had this song called Rupert the Bear. And you're too young to know this, but the song was Rupert the Bear. That's the song. Anyway, I sang that around the house, and my grandmother started bringing up the whole family. Oh, Michelle, she got talent. You can sing. And then I had to sing in church, and then basically I got discovered, I think I must have been about 14. I won my first award at Wembley for the gospel community. It was massive, like
Incredible.
People were like ants. And then I got signed when I was 17 to Island Records, and put this album together with fantastic A&R people. And the first thing they asked me was, what kind of record do you want to make? And I said, I want to make a record that lasts for 50 years. I was like, and they were like, okay, intense. And so ended up making this album, and I just basically went for my heroes, people like Marvin Gaye. These are the people I was in love with. And I was desperate to get away from the church at this point. So I chose this great writer. We wrote these songs together, and the album went straight double platinum straight away.
Incredible.
So I was terrified because I'm like 18. 18,
yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm everywhere. All over the world. I'm on David Letterman, I'm touring the States, and I'm living out of the suitcase, and I'm just huge. And it's like being in the eye of the storm sort of thing. So, it's all going on around you, and you're sort of sat there going, wow, can't believe this is my life. Like that.
And how did you deal with that sudden kind of fame, and also manage to then sustain a career for so long and be so grounded during,
I remember when my very first time, there was a show called Top of the Pops, which you definitely don't know.
I definitely know Top of the Pops.
You're too young.
You probably
see the reruns on Gold or something.
So,
all right. And I was, the first time because you arrived. If you were on that show, it meant you arrived. Yeah. You're there now. And I remember when I first got on it, and I ran back to my grandparents' house and to visit them that weekend, and I was like, it's not gonna last. I'm telling you, it happened too quick. I was terrified. I thought my career's over. And I was, because in my experience, all the people who were my heroes, they took years to get there. So I couldn't understand why it was so fast. So I went about to make sure that I wouldn't be a flash in the pan.
Sure.
And how I did that in my head was, I said, everything I do, it doesn't necessarily have to be a hit. It just has to be really good from my heart. So I had fights with the industry. They were really not happy about it because they wanted me to make the same record all the time. And I didn't. And this is about anyone who's passionate about what they want to do and they're creative, is to always do what your heart wants to do, not what the system tells you to do, because you just have a different presence when you're coming from your heart and you're doing what you love. I know it sounds corny, but that's literally all I did. I stuck to what I love, and it was a nightmare because obviously you're not following the party lines, you know. Yeah. So I can imagine you probably had the same thing doing your thing. I'm sure you must have had challenges.
100%.
You know what I'm saying, because you're smiling. I can see you like, I know that movie. Yeah. And that's what you have to do when you're really passionate. But you're asking me, how did I make it go on for 3 decades? I just never, I'm the same person you're meeting now as I was when I was 18. I'm
You
still
were not
like,
affected
got to make
by
sure,
it.
oh yeah, I really got to make sure the music's really good. It's got to touch the heart.
Yeah.
The lyrics have got to be great. And I'm still there. I haven't changed. Like, you know, someone was saying to me the other day, I remember you in Smash Hits, The Making of a Pop Star. And I'm saying, I'm still doing it. I'm still trying to be.
Incredible.
I'm still trying to be successful. It's not easy, you know?
And kind of in this, it's International Women's Month.
Yeah.
But I know you celebrate women all year round. But can you tell me a little bit about your experiences as being a woman in this industry? Or...
you know, it's funny you say all year round. I don't think we have time to celebrate how great we are, women. Yeah. We're just at it, aren't we? We're always doing it. And then suddenly, say Women's Day, stop and go, oh yeah, we do a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
That's. But you know, for me, it's been, look, we're in a patriarchal system, which I think is now crumbling finally, and it's on its way out, which is great. We love men, you know. I know I do. I love men, and I'm a humanitarian, you know.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. It's been their system, you know. But it has to shift now because it's far too difficult. It's just difficult when you're a female, and I used to always have to have a male manager to get my ideas through because they wouldn't accept me on my own. I went through that for a long time. And what's nice now is that you're being accepted for your ideas and not ridiculed for it because you're a woman saying something that is not male. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's really great. But the only way that can happen is when, and that goes for anything, being consistent. That, all right, I don't buy your idea right now. I'm not going to invest it. Okay, cool. I'll just keep going. I'll go to the next one, go to the next one. Mm-hmm. And that's how I see it. For me, I never looked at record companies as anything other than, or I hate to say this because it sounds cold, but as a bank. I never saw them as my career. Mm-hmm. From the beginning, I saw that because to me, once they love you and they give you everything, and that's great. But then when you're suddenly waning a bit, because we all have peaks and troughs, suddenly it's like, who, Misha, who? Right? They leave the movie. Mm-hmm. So at that point, what do? Do you fall down and give up and say, that's it? No, you stick with the fans. You stick with the people that still love what you do, and you make them the focus.
Yeah.
And once you do that, and that goes for anything, that even goes for you. You stick with your core buyers, and you just make them happy, make special events for them. And that's what I did. I just kept gigging. Didn't matter if there was a record label or not. I just kept it up.
And I guess that's the kind of advice you'd give to an aspiring female artist today as well. Yeah,
and just anyone who's a female doing something they're passionate about. You know, we're assigning it just to me as a musician, but I had to diversify to survive. You know, as I said, when the industry shuts the door and they said she's had her hits, right, that's it, next, want the younger model, you know, that usual thing. I went and did radio. Then I became the first radio host of Radio 2. Radio 2 is huge, you know, it's like the biggest radio station in the UK. And so that was wonderful, but I was terrified. Don't get it twisted. I'm sitting there saying, yeah, I did that. And no, I was dying. I mean, you know, I was terrified because I'd never done radio before. But it's about doing things that are not too far away from what your core is. Yeah. But diversifying what you already do. So I went into radio, then I started talking to other artists like Amy. I was the first person to interview Amy Winehouse. And that's why I'm the head of her charity all this time. From her demos, because I was just like, she's just amazing. My God, when the demos were amazing, you know. So I got her in, and she was like, Mica, you're a legend, didn't you? And it was like she's such a sweetheart. But what I'm saying is that it's doing things that might not be familiar to you, and it might be frightening because you're learning all the time. And that was 2001 that I got my first Radio 2 series. And here I am in 2023, still doing Radio 2, having my own series, you know. So you just keep going with things, but they're from the heart. So I didn't do anything that I was cringe about, like was embarrassing, or, you know, there weren't any funky tapes. You know what I mean? It's like, stay away from stuff like that and you'll be all right.
So just about pivoting and kind of learning to adapt and that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I would say,
and...
I would say that go for the human part of the product that you do. So the human part would be the emotional side. So you know, instead of just going, I'm making a product and I'm going to give that product to someone or whatever it is that you do, you want to go into, why do you like that? And like, why does that music speak to you? Why does that cream speak to you? Why does that t-shirt work for you? You know, and get that in as part of your brand. You make that part of what you are, because then you become a thinking entity, IP. You're not just another box of whatever, right?
Of course.
I think that's what it is. So even with my radio shows, my last one was a gospel one, talking about inspirational music, not necessarily being religious, but just what it feels like when you hear it. It lifts you out of depression. It makes you feel better. The other series was about females. I did Gladys Knight, Candy Staton, Sister Sledge, and their stories. I wanted people to hear what it's like for females in this music industry and how hard it is maintaining a career and having a husband. And most of them have had 5, 6 in between them. Do you know, I thought I was doing bad. Do you know, I've only been married once. But when I heard their stories, this helps other women when they hear that. And you hear about all these women, how they gave up their careers for their husbands to manage their careers. And then they went off with a younger model. And you hear all these things and you're like, but how did you survive that? And then you hear this, and it's so empowering. So then I'm not just a singer now. I'm actually someone that cares about the journey and what it means to be someone of inspiration. So, and that's what I tell people, women, I say to them, you know, whatever you do, go for that human side too. Don't just be a product, you know?
Yeah.
Because everyone can benefit from your story. It's you know,
Incredible advice. So
don't ask questions like that. It can go on for ages.
In terms of, I know you do a lot of charity work, and that you've got to tell me a little bit about all the things you're doing.
It's the same thing again about, you know, look, we're in a really weird time right now. I mean, for me, for my age, you know, like I'm about to be 54. And,
well, you don't look anything. I'm going to talk about skincare later and how you look after yourself.
I want you to be my friend. So, all right. But no, it's really important. Give me that last question again. That last one you just said.
All the charity work you're doing.
Sorry. Yeah. The reason why charity is really important, because we're in a time right now, if you notice everywhere you look, it's all about me. I come from a time of we, basically, and my upbringing is we. Everyone's in there trying to help each other. That's what I come from. So this whole me thing that's going on now, it's incredibly self-absorbed. It's frightening to me. So I try, not because I'm trying to gain points, I only do things that I'm passionate about.
That you believe in.
That I believe in. And I believe in Amy, because Amy was really not about that me thing. She was a real artist. And that's why people can't stop talking about her, because that's what makes you special. You become special when your intention is for others. So my thing is, I want to bring awareness to certain things that I believe in, that I feel are being ignored, you know. So, you know, Centrepoint is so important to me. I've been with them for a long time, because, you know, you walking down the street, you see these tents and it's absolutely freezing. And, you know, we will do a night. I'm doing just one night of taking care of some of the people, giving them food and whatever. And I'm literally like, you know, listen, my parents from the Caribbean. I am not feeling the cold, let me tell you. And it's hardcore, and they're there every night. You know, these things really mean a lot to me, because in my mind, I believe no one should be homeless. No one should be starving. 100%. And so I tried to do something there. You know, what can I do? I just try to do something. The Lady Garden Foundation is quite recent for me. I've literally just become ambassador of that. And it's powerful because, you know, there are so many women who just don't take care of themselves and don't even... I love what they're doing. I just fell in love with what they were doing that night. I guess I didn't know. I mean, Tamara's been an old friend for 20 odd years, and I didn't even know. You see the name, Lady Garden Foundation. Oh, maybe they like gardening. You wasn't. I was so like, duh. I had no idea. It wasn't until I went to the event, and obviously we did a photo shoot before, and they sat me down and told me the whole thing, and I was all in, because I've lost quite a few people to cancer, cervical cancer, and. You know, only because they had no idea.
No, but that's the thing, people don't get smear tests. It's just, it's crazy. So that's also why I think it's a really important charity.
It really is. And so that's, you know, that's in a nutshell. I think when you're an artist, a creative, you have other interests besides just being up there being the star. You know, if you're a real all-rounder, whatever you're doing, it doesn't mean you have to do charity work, but I'm saying whatever you create, you want it to make a difference in people's lives. That's my intention. And I say this to everyone: if your intention is only to be seen and be famous, don't do it.
Don't do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, okay, and then like more then on the self-centered stuff. Let's say no, not self-centered stuff. More about you, how you look amazing, what you do to keep your skin looking so good. What's your?
You look
I
good.
know
Look at you.
Look
at you. You're absolutely gorgeous. And no, you know what it is. I had a book that I wrote about 10. It's got to be 2007. How many years ago was that? It's a long time ago. But that was it was my very first book.
Yeah.
And I wrote that after I had a very big series after Trinity and Suzanne. I took over, and it was called What Not to Wear. And it was my friend Lisa Butcher and we did a series for about a year, and it really went well. Yeah. And I had all these women like writing to me and saying, "Oh, Misha, what do we do?" And so I thought, you know what? Let me reach all of them and write this book. And it's called Beautiful Within. So going back to your question, what is really important is self-care. You see, when you look after yourself, you literally start looking after everybody else. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. You let yourself go. You're short-tempered. You're not happy. You're edgy, and it's really going back to you. Everyone's like, "No, it's external. It's what's her name down the street at number 22." No, it's you. So I was very fortunate to have a mother who is so vain. Love her, but my mum is get nails done every 2 weeks, get the hair done. She's not messing around. And then I've got my dad, who is just Mr. Dapper, dressed to the nines. And then I've got my grandparents, remember, so they're church. So we had to dress up. We couldn't wear our Sunday clothes in the week. It was stored for Sunday and you couldn't touch it. So I've come from this environment of self-care. Yeah. But mostly because they're immigrants. They came through the Windrush generation. So because they were the new kids on the block in the UK back then, going way back now, like the 50s and whatever, they came with a sense of pride from Jamaica. And they felt like they had to always look their best, in this country called the Great Britain. You know, they were who are they? You had some people who thought they were odd because they were a different color. They went through a lot of racism. So for them, the sense of pride was always to look great. Yeah. And so I come from that. But what I realized is that it's deeper than just the aesthetics and just how you look outside. I realized that when I look after myself, so I run, I walk 4 times a week, and then I have Pilates on a Friday. I have 2 steams a week. I drink spirulina for 20 years. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I gave up drink 4 years ago. Smoking I gave up about 10 years ago, if not longer now. And I started to realize that when I feel great, I treat everyone really better. Yeah, of course. And also with even my children, I was always like, I'm a real giver, I love to give, I get excited about giving. But I had to create boundaries even with my children to say, this is Mum's day, spa day, Mum, 3 times a week. We don't bother Mum when it's spa day. And after that, you got me. But when it's my day, you're not allowed. Right, and it's boundaries. And so the self-care then becomes routine of drink the right stuff, take the right vits, skin care. Steaming is the best for skin. People are like, make sure you haven't got one wrinkle. I'm telling you, it's really the steam and the spirulina.
It's the 360
it's the 3
degree
things. And
approach.
Then it's your thoughts.
Of course.
And then it's that positive
stress
mindset.
Comes out.
And the stress comes out when you're running on the treadmill. Yeah. So when I'm on that treadmill 40 minutes a day, I'm like Rocky. I come off of there, I'm like, I'm ready. I'm like, come on. See, look, I've got the cloak on. Superwoman, I'm ready to go. I'm like, but that stuff really starts to make you feel good. Yeah. And when you don't do that stuff, there's a massive difference. You start to age. Yeah.
And you start to crumble.
You start to age, which is that. You literally go down. Yeah. And so and then you just think, I've got to replace it with alcohol. And I feel so bad. I feel rubbish about it. And then that becomes your crutch. And then you keep doing it all the time. And then that just, I can't say it enough. It's not been, I'm so great, like putting myself on a pedestal. I might sound like I'm trying to say I'm great. I'm actually not. It literally works. And I tell women this, you know, make time for yourself.
Yeah.
Tell husband, kids, these are my 3 days a week, my time, right? It's important because then they're better parents, they're better wives, they're happier, right? But when you're just giving all the time, which is women do this, they end up cooking, cleaning things, and then they're sad because it's energy. You know, if you're not putting back into you, you're not good to anyone. So that's what I tell.
Totally agree with you. I mean, that's why I got into the wellness space.
Exactly, and
because you
see it
with a 300, and everyone always asks me like, "What's your best skin tip?" Or and like it's a self-care kind of 360-degree approach. I should say that there's one cream that's gonna revolutionize your skin. I mean, of course, we have creams that are going to revolutionize your skin,
good. but it's a combo.
Yeah, it's a combo.
And so, you know, the thing is, intention. I say this all the time to everyone. Everything in this world is about intention. If your intention is, I want to be a better person, because then I'm better for everyone. That is it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Well, I think we can leave it at that. Then. Thank you.
Is that all right? You know, I do go on a bit. Sorry.
It's
you were great.
Honor to have you.
Bless your heart. You're very kind.
Thank you.
Bless.